Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, FP Santangelo Jr., Russell Jackman. Not sure where Vern is. Hopefully he'll be on a little bit later on. Let's see, at each commercial break, we're going to ask a sports trivia question. And since we're still in baseball season, of course, we have to have a baseball trivia question at each break. Let's see, we got three of them. And let's see.
We are kind of in football season.
We will get there. We will get there. And unfortunately, for you, Russell, I have some hard baseball questions for you.
They're pretty much all hard these days.
They all come from the 14th century. So, all right, when we get back, let's see. We have a whole bunch of different topics for the show. A little bit of golf, a little bit of football. Let's see, basketball, tennis, baseball. Holy smokes, we got the whole gamut. I just don't have any boxing. Yeah. Okay.
What? Boxing? I've never heard of it.
I've never heard of it. Yeah, I know. I'm still waiting for on this transgender stuff. I'm still waiting for a man to pretend he's a woman, and to see about going into that, right? Because the swimming is one thing, but it's like boxing is another. So that'll be kind of interesting to see that. All right, and one of the things that FP wanted to talk about, Chris Sale, his injury, kind of fun topic would be various different kinds of injuries that athletes have got. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, the kind of the silliest one I can remember is Gus Frerotte. After he made a touchdown.
Oh, that one! I remember watching that.
Remember that? And he just kind of took his
headbutted the wall.
Headbutted
his neck.
No way.
Yeah. And then
whoa.
Yeah, he made a touchdown pass right at the end of the half, and as he was walking out through the tunnel, he decided to headbutt the wall, and he herniated his neck.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. All right, stay with us. Sports Econ 101 will be right back. All right, welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here, along with FP Santangelo Jr. and Russell Jackman. All right, guys. First, let's start off with, I want to say fun injuries, but they're not fun. Quirky injuries.
Weird.
Yeah, weird ones. So there was a kicker, and I can't remember.
Let's reset the table, Edward. Of course, Chris Sale just recently broke his wrist because he was riding a bike and he fell off his bike. He has to have season-ending wrist surgery. He just had it, and now he's done for the season. That's just a crazy injury because you think of an elite athlete, right? You think he can ride a bike and he won't fall off and he won't injure his wrist.
A lot of them have contract riders that say that they're not allowed to do anything like that during
Madison
the season.
Bumgarner, right?
Yeah.
And Monte Ellis.
It's funny that you say that, Russ. Yeah. It's funny that you say that because FP Senior, my dad, he played Major League Baseball. And in his contract, he wasn't allowed to snowboard. He wasn't allowed to wakeboard, jet ski. He had like a list of these things that we couldn't do. And because of that, as a kid, I wasn't allowed to do it. Right. So I missed out on all these fun things. All my friends were like, oh, we lived in Sacramento in the off season.
Yeah, but,
let's go to
but
Tahoe.
now you have an elbow that straightens out completely. You can walk straight without a limp.
Hold on. Wait a minute. You're I mean, it wasn't in the contract that the kids couldn't do it, but I mean, obviously, if your dad's not going to,
true,
watch you probably, but you could go.
Yeah, the kids couldn't do it, but he wanted to kind of instill that in me, like, hey, listen, like if you want to play at the next level, you can't do these things. So a lot of this stuff as a kid, I missed out on because I couldn't do it with the family. It's actually pretty funny.
Well, it's interesting because again, my sport was bowling, and I was semi-professional, and I remember. On our tournaments on Saturday, literally on Friday, when I get home from school, because I was still in school at the time. I came home Friday, did my homework, and I just made sure that I didn't do anything that would injure myself, get a good night's sleep and all that. So yeah. I can kind of relate to that. But so there was I'm trying to remember if it was Tony Zendejas or some other kicker who kicked the field goal, and he got excited, so he jumped up in the air. But when he landed, he hyperextended his knee, I think it was, and then that was it. He was gone for the rest of the season.
Oh my goodness!
And we were talking about Gus Frerotte, headbutting. That he kind of did what he herniated his disc, right?
Oh yeah, in his knee and his neck.
By
headbutting the wall.
Serious. And then, do you remember Mike Ivey? He was either first baseman or an outfield. I think it was first baseman for the Giants back in the 70s, and he cut himself with a hunting knife.
Oh, wow.
It was a really bad cut, and so he wasn't gone for the whole season, but he was gone for many, many weeks.
So there's two that come to mind besides Madison Bumgarner, of
Yeah.
course. There's something with World Series pitchers, Chris Sale and now Madison Bumgarner with bikes. In Bumgarner's case, it was a motorcycle. It was a motocross cycle. And I think he injured his shoulder or something like that. Anyways, the two ones that are legendary to my generation are Tigers pitcher Joel Zumaya. Do you remember this? He played video games all night.
Yes, I was going to bring that up. I was going to bring that up.
So he played Guitar Hero. If you remember Guitar Hero, you play the controller that's a guitar and you play the song on the screen, right?
Yeah.
He played it so much before his start in the ALCS that he got carpal tunnel and he couldn't grip a baseball and he couldn't play. Isn't that crazy? That's like the craziest one for me.
I think that is.
You guys didn't bring up Jeff Kent's injury.
Oh yeah, Jeff Kent's another good one too.
I forgot what happened. Did he say he got like broke a table or something? He fell on a broken.
He said he was washing his truck and he fell off. And then everyone who was in Arizona at the time said they saw Jeff Kent riding up and down the street on his motorcycle and doing all sorts of crazy, turns and stuff like that. So he got busted because everybody saw him. And he couldn't get away with the lie. I also was remembering, I forget if it was Matt Cain or maybe it was another pitcher who was cutting hamburgers, frozen hamburgers.
Oh yeah.
And he cut himself with the knife while trying to cut up the hamburgers. Another player, I'm trying to remember, it was a football player. He tripped over his dog at night and fell down the stairs.
Oh, yeah,
okay. So Russ, that was Jeremy Affeldt. It's not Matt.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah,
Jeremy Affeldt cut his hand with the frozen hamburger. But those are just some crazy injuries. The other one I have that is like in lore for people in my generation is Trevor Bauer before his playoff appearance was playing with his drone. And the blade on the drone, the propeller, sliced his hand and he couldn't pitch.
Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just such a bizarre injury that he's playing with his drone of all things. It's such like this generation thing. Sliced his hand open 2016 and he couldn't pitch.
And then
forget being a pitcher or even a baseball player. How do you cut yourself on the blade of a drone?
It's just a crazy injury. It's just insane. So the
weakest, the most bizarre wrestling injury that I've ever seen is a guy who is the name of Kevin, 7 feet tall, and he destroyed his knee while running across the ring. Just running across the ring. He basically ended his career because he tore his ACL while literally just running. Just when they throw guys against the ropes and they bounce off against the ropes.
Yeah.
He just walked wrong. He ran wrong and tore his ACL.
I remember playing a pickup game at the YMCA basketball, and there was this. I stole the ball, and there was this big guy who was chasing me, who was a little uncoordinated. I was scared he was just going to run right because I'm slow, right? I was scared he'd just run into me, so I just stopped really quickly to let him go by me, and both my knees just buckled. Really get that, I guess, hyperextended or whatever, and that was it. I was done. All right, guys. Let's see here.
How Cal Ripken managed to play, nearly 2,000 games in a row. That to me is a Cy Young-like record that'll never be matched again.
Well, especially the fact is playing third base and shortstop. And on the off season, I understand he played basketball and other.
Yep.
That's pretty amazing on that. Let's see, just really quickly. Serena Williams just announced she's going to end her career. I guess she wants to not start a family. She has a child. She wants to have a second one. 23 Grand Slams, 50 major titles. I mean, she's got to be the best ever, don't you think?
I think
one of the greatest athletes of our time.
Yeah.
She winds up being one of the great athletes of our time. It really isn't any debate.
It's funny. I always thought her sister Venus was better, but then I guess maybe she was in the beginning, and then Serena surpassed her. But I mean, that's just crazy. I think 1999 was the first. So I mean, for 23 years, I think she's 41 now. So yeah, I get it. You want to have a kid before you get a little bit too old. You know?
Yeah, I think she already has a kid, but
Yeah, she does. She wants to have a second.
Yeah, but 41 is a lot, is old to start another family. So
True. Yeah. So she's already got two. Again, she's already has one child. And then also at 41, you know, how many more years are you going to be playing tennis anyway? Yeah. I don't know.
No, she has nothing to regret, and
Oh, no.
and she probably will go down in the record books for our lifetime as the best female tennis player who ever lived.
Yeah. No, yeah, I don't, I wouldn't put anybody else against her.
yeah.
Let's see. Okay, guys, we're going to get to our first commercial trivia question break. You guys will remember this, but you may not remember who it was. Okay, so the year was 1993. Fans watched Jose Canseco misjudge a fly ball. It hit him in the head and sailed over the fence for a home run.
I do remember that.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Who was the batter that was given the free home run? I can still picture in my mind. He's going
That's
back,
a great
back.
trivia question.
Yeah, right. And somehow he just misjudged it, bounced right off his head, and that was pretty funny, I gotta say. All right, so that's our trivia question. We'll ask it one more time. 1990.
Where's Vern when we need him?
I know. Where is Vern? Fans watched Jose Canseco misjudge a fly ball. If he was playing right field, I remember he kind of goes back, he misjudges it, doesn't even hit the glove, but hits him in the head and sails over the fence for a home run. Who was the batter that was given this free home run? Boy, wouldn't that be great to have that stat? You know, he got a home run.
Home run off the head.
Right off the head. All right, stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. One more time. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with FP Santangelo Jr. and Russell Jackman. I guess Vern must be taking the day off. Okay. The baseball question. The year is 1993. Fans watched Jose Canseco misjudge a fly ball, hit him in the head.
Or was it Ozzy?
No. Well, first of all, it was Jose, and it was not Ozzy who hit the ball. So who was the batter?
No, I meant we didn't know if it was Ozzy out in the field and not Jose. Remember?
No, it's definitely Jose. Oh, because they look alike. Yeah, no, it's definitely Jose.
That they switched uniforms a couple times.
Yeah.
So we never really know what things were truly Jose Canseco and what things were Ozzy.
Yeah, they came out on the record and they said that at events when they had to show up places that they would switch all the time. They'd swap out, which is crazy.
Yeah, kind of fun.
Yeah. It'd be nice to have a brother like that. I don't want to go to work today.
Like there's a funny.
Yeah, but how about getting blamed for a bunch of stuff you didn't do? How about getting blamed for a bunch of stuff you didn't do?
That's true.
You know, it's funny. Go watch the movie. Well, first of all, the answer is Carlos Martinez.
Okay.
Go see a movie called with Michael Keaton called Multiplicity, where that is so funny because basically what happens FP is that he clones himself, but
each clone gets worse.
Yeah, and you know, like a photocopy of a photocopy.
Yeah,
the last one is almost mentally handicapped, like the number 4. It was pretty funny, very funny movie. All right, let's see here. More stuff to talk about. Okay, so 7 of the 10 highest paid golfers joined the LIV Tour, and now 11 players have filed an antitrust suit against the PGA. Mr. Russell Jackman, you are the attorney on the show. What do you think about this antitrust suit?
I don't think it's going to go through because the LIV Tour obviously is showing that you can put together another golf tour without the permission of the PGA. And the PGA has the right to say, we don't want you playing for us, you know, I'm sure if you look at the PGA contract, it probably says, you know, we reserve the right to accept or deny your participation in our tournament it's up to our discretion, you know, and so they're not obligated. It's not a state player. It's not like there's no other way for a golf tournament to exist outside of the PGA.
True.
And I don't think that the LIV Tour is going to succeed. Now, gas prices are going back down. So, you know, maybe the LIV Tour isn't such an awful thing. I was certainly furious about it when gas prices kept going up and you were seeing these billion-dollar offers being sent to to folks. But you know what? I still hope it's a failure. I really.
Oh yeah, I was going to say just because gas prices go down, I thought the whole idea was you didn't like it because of the human rights issue.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't, and I don't. And I
Oh,
don't.
you're
I
such
don't
a
want to
capitalist.
support.
All you care about is gas prices.
Well, I mean, I feel bad enough that I'm supporting Saudi Arabia with my car.
Yeah.
I would, you know, I don't want any other dollar, even a penny that I have to go to Saudi Arabia.
Well, if you think about it, if the United States was, they used to be energy independent a few years ago. If all they have to do is
they
be energy,
weren't.
hold on, all they have to do is be energy independent again, and all the oil we have underneath.
That's bull.
No,
That's
it's true.
Bull. It's not true. It's not true. And clean. Where's your clean coal now, Buster? Where's all your clean coal? We were supposed to be running the United States off of clean coal. That was a complete fantasy that never existed. We were not energy independent. Stop taking things out of Fox and Trump's.
No. Fox is way too liberal.
Hey guys, what sport is this?
What sport? Yeah. Golf.
Yeah, thank you.
Race cars. That's what we're talking about. Okay. Amazon apparently is paying $1 billion for Thursday night football. Whoa.
I got some good insight on this, guys. So it's really interesting how these big companies and corporations are getting into streaming services. I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people that work for Apple TV and their streaming service with Major League Baseball recently, and how that has been really, really interesting, and how they think they can just throw money on things and understand the art of broadcasting and feel like they can completely just change how you do broadcasting, right? That's not the case, right? You can't just change broadcasting. There's a reason why there's a formula for like 100 years. It's been working the right way. Why Vince Scully's so popular, why John Miller's so great, why Dwayne Kuiper.
Yeah, we didn't mention Vince Scully. We didn't mention Vince Scully yet.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, guys, these big corporations that don't have any knowledge of sports, right? Yeah. Some of them are doing it the right way, and they're hiring consultants to like map everything out A through Z. Yeah. But other organizations it's very apparent in their product when you're watching on television. I don't know if you guys have tuned into an Apple TV game. At the beginning of the season.
I did.
You, Russ?
Yeah, and I was not pleased.
Yeah, that's kind of the consensus with the average fan right now, is that in the beginning of the season, it was not good. They had
what was the problem?
Well, they wanted to go to a podcast style format on a broadcast. So we're talking like how we're talking here, instead of paying attention to the game. It's like we're a bunch of friends talking about the game while we're talking about other subjects, while people are tuning in to watch the players, right?
Yeah.
And right. A lot of these people that were on the broadcast were like, we don't think this is going to work, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, they finally are starting to figure it out. Their broadcasts are getting so much better, right? But it's such trial and error. So this is going to be really interesting to see. Like, this is the brightest lights. This is Thursday night football, and Amazon is going to have to hit the ground running.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, this could be a disaster. It could be. Because if you don't, like, football fans are rabid to begin with, and Americans care about one thing, and that is football. If you mess with football, you mess with their broadcast, man, you're going to make a lot of enemies really fast. So Amazon's really got to.
You're too young to remember this. You're too young to remember this, but they already had Rush Limbaugh and Dennis Miller on Monday Night Football. And if football could survive those two,
really? I don't remember Rush Limbaugh being on Monday Night.
You don't remember Rush Limbaugh on Monday Night Football?
No.
How long was
he on for?
Like 2 weeks. He was awful. He was absolutely the worst. You can look it up on Wikipedia or whatever. He was terrible. He said stuff that people couldn't stand. He talked about politics.
Well, guys,
people yanked him off as soon as they could.
Yeah. Well, guys, it's so like broadcasts and football are so important because you only have X amount of games, right? It's not like baseball where you can kind of train somebody throughout the year because there's 162 games, right? Where like you could see where someone's starting to get better and better through reps. There's no reps. Okay. This is the NFL. I mean, NBC just pulled Drew Brees off the air. That's Drew Brees. That's a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't received well. And they're like, okay, bye-bye. See ya. Yeah. Drew Brees. That's crazy.
I mean, the thing is, you got to do, like Tony Romo does a good job. And,
he nailed it.
I mean, it's amazing how much, I know he's a quarterback. I mean, Drew Brees is a quarterback too, but apparently he was great. And then, even Chris Collingsworth, which I didn't care for him as a player but just his attitude as a player was a little too cocky and all that. Kept losing to the 49ers, which is fine with me. But he does a good job as a broad, when you mature and all that. And it's so funny because I was thinking about how some years back when we had a semi-professional, or actually no, I guess it's an internet. It's a professional baseball league, independent baseball league here in Marin, and I was asked to be like the quote the color commentator, right? And I didn't know any of these players, and so trying to go in and try to, I didn't know anything, and and it was funny. I was terrible.
What's changed?
Well, I know if I can do play by play, that I could do, but the commentating, I was going, wait, okay, so I go, you're kind of like Dwayne Kuiper and I'm like Mike Krukow, and he says, yeah, because I was starting to do some play by play stuff, and he's like, no, Edward, no, you're not supposed to do that, and yeah, it was like I lasted 1 week, and then I go, yeah, this isn't working, is it? It was pretty funny, I gotta say. All right,
so
yeah, go ahead.
The one thing we should probably mention is who's going to actually be on the broadcast. So it's going to be Al Michaels on the Amazon broadcast with Kurt Herbstreit to begin. And then they're going to mix in Ryan Fitzpatrick and Marshawn Lynch, which I think is going to be a very interesting dynamic, right? With Al Michaels.
Do you guys ever get worried? Do you guys ever get worried that there's going to be 17 different channels that cover all 17 football games, and you're going to have to get a subscription to pay for each one of those games?
Yeah, well, it's going to happen, Russ. And what's going to happen after that is there's going to be a correction in the market, because soon people are just not going to deal with it. They're going to be like, whatever, I'm not going to pay for it. I can't afford it. And then after that
it's going to be each quarter is going to be on a different streaming network. So for the first quarter, you got to be on Amazon. The second quarter, you got to be on Apple. For the third quarter, you got to be on Netflix, and for the fourth quarter, back on NBC.
So let's talk about
overtime.
Let's talk about Sports Econ 101 real quick. What's going to happen is they're testing the market right now. They're going to see how much the viewer is going to put up with, right? With all these streaming services. And then after a while, the National Football League or Major League Baseball or whoever, the NBA, are going to step in and be like, hey, we're losing a substantial amount of fans because of all these different streaming services. We're going to have to retract these contracts, and we're going to have a unified streaming platform. Okay.
Yeah, it should be kind of similar to what Henry Ford did when he invented the Model T. He says you can have any color you want as long as it's black. All right, we're going.
And as long as you're not Jewish.
As long as you're not Jewish, yeah. It's funny. Actually, my grandfather worked like a 12-year-old boy in his factory and kind of helped invent something to do with the conveyor belt system, and he got a whole quarter for saving him. I don't know, multi-millions of dollars worth. Pretty good.
Wow.
Okay, a second trivia question. And my grandfather was Jewish, so maybe that's what had to do with it. Okay, second trivia question. And Russ, you're just gonna hate me for this one. Judge Kennesaw Mountain Landis was Major League Baseball's first commissioner from 1921 to 1944. Who succeeded Landis upon his death as commissioner? We're gonna have to throw a hard one.
I know FP knows the answer.
Of course he does. Okay, stay with us. Sports Econ 101. I'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown, FP Santangelo Jr., and Russell Drackman here. Okay, second trivia question. Judge Kennesaw Mountain Landis was Major League Baseball's first commissioner from 1921 to 1944. And if you remember, I believe he was the commissioner because of the 1919 Black Sox scandal. They called it the Black Sox. So they decided to have a commissioner in there. Who succeeded Landis upon his death as commissioner?
Abraham Lincoln.
Faye Vincent. Faye Vincent.
No,
commissioner I can remember.
Happy Chandler.
Oh, that's a good name though. Happy Chandler.
Isn't that a good name? Yeah. I don't know if that's his real name, but yeah, I named my kid Happy. Okay. Kevin Durant, he apparently he's giving an ultimatum: trade me or fire Steve Nash.
Wow.
Yeah, and it came out today that Kyrie Irving said he's very, very unhappy with just the leadership surrounding the Brooklyn Nets. So it seems like a lot of the guys, the most important guys on the team, don't like who's running the show. They don't like the GM. They don't like the head coach. So,
wow.
Gee, Kyrie, maybe you should have taken your shot and played more than 22 games if you really didn't like the way things were going for your team. Maybe
yeah, that definitely,
like the rest of us.
That definitely handicapped the team in more ways than one throughout the season. But I mean, the Ben Simmons stuff didn't help too.
Yeah.
It was a weird season. I would say this is probably one of the weirdest if you circle just the Nets, they're just such a weird case study to begin with. It's bizarre. Like
when haven't they been?
Bizarre.
Yeah, what's going
When
on?
haven't the Nets been? No, I still say that the ultimate trade is to trade Durant for Jimmy Garoppolo. That way you could have both players just switch leagues, just switch sports entirely, and maybe they'll find appreciation in their new sport.
You know, having a football player, having a quarterback that tall can be quite an advantage.
Oh, I would put him at the wide out spot. I think he's got, good speed downfield, got good hands. He'd be good over the middle.
Well, you know, it's funny. A friend of mine played for the Atlanta Falcons as a wide receiver, and he was about 6'1", but he had a 48-inch vertical leap. So I mean, it's
that's
just fantastic.
crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But
the thing is, he only weighed about 175 pounds. So it's like he pretty much always just went. He hardly ever went down the middle.
Yeah.
You just get crazy.
If you look at the story of Kevin Durant, there he was almost looking at a 3-time champion back to back to back.
Yeah.
Hurts his Achilles, and from that point forwards, it's been a huge decline down to the point where no team in the league wants him right now.
Well,
that says something.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far.
There's a lot of teams that want him. I know there's a team in Phoenix that would really, really like Kevin Durant.
Not for nearly $40 million a year, though.
Oh no, they'll pay whatever they want for him. They just have to give up a lot. I think the Nets want Devin Booker in return, which is not going to happen. I think that's what the rumor.
He's still just such a rising star. I mean, Durant's been in the league how many years now? 13 or something.
It's been a long time.
It's been around, and it's funny because I still remember when he came out of college and Greg Oden, and I made the mistake of going, let's see, if I had to choose one, I think I'd take Greg Oden.
Well, Oden
I was not the general manager.
Oden had size, and it was the situation like when the Kings picked Purvis Ellison, first in the draft years ago. I mean, they went with the best big man in the draft, and the Warriors went with Wiseman a couple of years ago. You often go with size because you think that's going to be, where the future is. But if they get hurt early, there's no guarantee that they're going to be a factor later on.
Durant,
in the NBA.
a lot of these kids coming out of college, they're all lanky, right? I mean, look at Steph Curry. He came out, he was just a little guy, right? So he's been bulking up quite a bit, which is kind of interesting because in basketball, you wonder, you get a little too bulky, and it's going to potentially affect your shot. Now, in his case, it didn't. But you kind of wonder. And also, if you're a big guy, like Andre, not Andre. Come on, who played on the Clippers? Big guy. And I think
Bill Walton did. And,
no. Just recently, and then he got traded to Ayton. A big guy like that. I mean, he can take all the weights he wants because most of his shots are going to be, dunks or within 3 feet.
Talking about DeAndre Jordan?
DeAndre Jordan. Oh, that's what I was thinking of. Thank you. All right.
Finally, you're asking me trivia questions I can answer.
Yeah. Okay. Deshaun Watson, how many game suspension do you get?
So he got 6 games. Let me explain the situation real quick. So the NFL agreed during the offseason, during their last bargaining agreement, that they're going to have a third-party judge come in and decide the suspensions, right? So it's going to be not the player union. It's not going to be the NFL. It's not going to be Goodell. It's going to be a third-party judge going forward for all suspensions. This is the way. So basically Goodell is not liable for any of these errant suspensions, right? This is saving his butt a little bit. So the judge comes in, gives Deshaun Watson 6 games to the displeasure of the National Football League. Okay, so the NFL is appealing that decision, and because of the appeal, this is the NFL, not the players union, the NFL itself. They wanted 1 season to 2 season suspension for Deshaun Watson. So
FP, you're not married, are you? You're not married.
Not yet,
right? I say.
Yeah.
Okay. Because if you're married, you understand what this is like, which is when you ask your wife, what do you want to have for dinner? She says, No, I don't really care. I'm not hungry. And so you say, okay, great, I'm gonna get pizza. And then she goes, pizza? I don't want pizza.
Exactly.
Why did you say pizza? You wanted tacos. You're like, well, if you wanted tacos, why didn't you just order tacos? Why did you ask me
Exactly.
what I wanted for dinner? When I say pizza, you say you want tacos. Why didn't you just say you want tacos in the first place?
Exactly.
If the NFL wanted a 12-game suspension, why didn't they just say you're suspended for 12 games? Why do you go ask a judge, what do you think?
Was going to have
the players union, and like I was explaining, Russ, they agreed with the NFL that there needs to be a third party to make these decisions because they're so inconsistent with like the weed, with the domestic violence, with all these different things. So if you put it in the hands of a third party, a judge, a legal judge, then these decisions don't fall on the NFL for looking errant. But now
the judge wants pizza.
The NFL shot themselves in the foot with this. And they're appealing it. And because of the appeal, they're going to get a new judge in. They're going to have a new appeal system. And what's going to happen is they're looking to expand this suspension probably to like 8 games to 12 games to maybe even a season now. So Deshaun Watson's looking at a longer suspension now, pretty much is what everyone's expecting. And Deshaun Watson's going to appeal that suspension. So this is just, it's made it.
This can happen until he's 60 years old.
Exactly.
So the thing is,
ridiculous.
It's kind of interesting because from the NFL standpoint, it's all about the money. You would think that they wouldn't want any suspension because he's a good player and you want as much good football as possible.
Oh, there's big blowback that comes from.
But there's big blowback,
So this is a big blowback because imagine like Deshaun Watson throwing a game-winning pass and that's on ESPN every night. Yeah. That looks bad for your brand. Based on everything that's
good. That's a good point.
Right? Yeah. And think about him like having a lot of success like instantly in Cleveland. This is going to look horrible for your brand because this is something that's been like, I don't know, like I've never in my life seen this many accusations and a guy settled this many times. Russ, you can maybe you have an example, but
if it was 18,
I mean, other than Bill Cosby, no, I can't think.
If it was 18 times, it's fine, but if it was 22, that's the limit.
Yeah, it's
but America has a very short collective consciousness.
Yeah, that's
true.
He's
gone for 8 weeks.
Look at Ray Lewis, right?
Yes,
Ray Lewis.
they'll
hey, Russ, you'll appreciate this because we both had Jewish mothers. So one Hanukkah, my mom gives me, and don't if you know this, don't say anything, right? My mom gives me, for Hanukkah, she gives me a red sweater, and she also gave me a blue sweater. So the next time I came over for dinner, I wore the blue sweater. I said, "Look, Mom, I'm wearing the blue sweater." She goes, "What? You didn't like the red one?" Right? That's very typical, right?
Yes.
So it's so funny when Russ was talking about the dinner thing. He's 100% right.
Yeah.
I say, look, same thing with like going on vacation. It's like just tell me what you want.
Exactly.
I'm easygoing for the most part.
The NFL should have at least said something to the judge about what it thought it should, what it wanted to see as a suspension.
I believe it did.
That's actually really smart. And then the players union, same thing. Say, listen, we think it should be X, and they think it should be Y. Yeah, that's actually would have been good.
Yeah, so the judge is just the mitigator in this whole thing, right? Yeah. So the NFL put up their guidelines and showed like what they thought it should be, and then the player union, obviously supporting the player, supported what they thought it was going to be in the player itself.
I bet they'll probably do that next time.
Hey, well, they did do it already.
They did do it. Okay. So really quickly, before we cut to a break, so for the 2022 NFL season, the refs are going to focus on illegal hits downfield. The typical after 5 yards, you're not supposed to tackle your player. And I'm going to say that as soon as the players really focus in on that, how much more scoring do you think there's going to be? Think about that, right? You can't touch too many times. There's this illegal hits going, and it's going to interfere with the wide receiver.
Oh yeah,
ball, right? So suddenly now you can't touch them. I mean the offense always knows where it's going. Defense has to just kind of follow along. So they had other rules in the last few years where it made it so much more scoring, right?
Well, let's think about it from a standpoint, right? Imagine sports fans are just like they're looking for action, they're looking for excitement and entertainment.
Exactly.
Throughout all sports, right?
Yeah.
You want scores to be high. Like you're gonna get a lot more from the average fan that maybe not tune in all the time. Like points is awesome because you can always cheer for points, or runs in baseball, any sport, right? So this is why like there's the juice baseball conspiracy, right? All the scores are so high. In the NFL, they're protecting the offenses, and the scores are really high, and makes it exciting. Same thing in college football. Same thing in the NBA, right? Now it's really like it's so easy to score in the NBA now.
Well, right? Look what happened in 1967. You had Bob Gibson had an ERA of like 1.12, and the reason was because the mound was too high. They figured out. So by lowering the mound, the players. In fact, Yastrzemski was the only hitter, a major hitter who hit over 300, and I think he hit 301. So they decided to lower the mound just for that reason.
I'll tell you what, the people behind the scenes in the front offices of Major League Baseball, the NFL, and the NBA are always trying to find out ways to score more. So the offenses score more because it's just sexier to the average fan, and it drives up ratings like crazy. Yeah.
Well, that's why the arena football.
Oh, yeah.
It was 68-64.
Yeah. Half.
All right. You guys ready for our last trivia question? Baseball here. I think I've mentioned this once before, so you should know. Who had the nickname of Captain Hook? All right.
Not sure.
And I'll give you a hint. He wasn't a player. He was a coach or a manager. All right. Who had the nickname? I'll even give you a bigger hint. And the reason is because he would not leave his pitchers out there too long. He would just constantly yank them out and put a new pitcher in. So that's why they called him Captain Hook. Okay. All right. When we come back, we've got some thoughts for the day, and we're going to finish up a few little things here on Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Russell Jackman and FP Santangelo Jr. Our last trivia question: who had the nickname Captain Hook?
All right, so I don't know this, but Wikipedia.
I remember Dr. Hook.
In the medicine show. Sparky Anderson.
Yes.
Yep.
Sparky Anderson. Okay. FP, you want to make one quick mention of something before we have to cut out?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that, guys, we're going to have football every single week throughout the month of February next year. So it's football season now. There's going to be football every single week, whether it's preseason, whether it's college. We're going to have football now. I think officially football.
Starting when?
Fire up your fantasy teams. Get ready.
Fantasy team. I'm sorry.
Get ready to draft your fantasy team. Yes.
Well, it started last week with the Hall of Fame game. So now we're going to have football till the month of February next year. So every single week, it's football season now, baby. Let's go.
Wow. So, I mean, it's funny.
It's hard to categorize last week's. It's hard to categorize last week's game as real football.
Yeah,
because it involved the Jacksonville
the
Jaguars.
Super Bowl used to be like around my birthday in mid-January, and then it's expansions and then the bye weeks and all that stuff. Okay, guys. Here's our thoughts for the day. My wife said, "Do you want to watch Batman Forever on Netflix tonight?" I said, "No, but I'll watch it for a couple of hours." All right, bad one. That's a bad one. And
I don't know if you watched the last Batman film, it felt like it went on forever. The last Batman film felt like it went on.
And what's the worst part about crushing cans? It's soda pressing.
That's
bad. Where's Vern when I need him to laugh at my jokes here? Russell, I don't think you like the dad jokes, do you? Russ?
Some of them give me indigestion. Some of them actually give me heart. They're so bad.
And along that vein, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and asking more sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week. So long.
Adios.